Yes, it's lovely to be back. It's been an odd week and a half or so. I've been very affected by everything that's happening in the outside world. I don't need to go into detail because I know that if you're anything like me at all and you have any empathy, then you probably feel the same way. So I've had a little break and I've had a bit of a think and I've done some baking, as you see, and kept the home fires burning, so to speak. And yeah, I'm ready now to dive back in. So this has got to be the busiest time of the year. I know I say this every season, but the reality is there's an urgency about getting everything done. And as I'm gardening and cutting back and trimming and putting things in place and dividing up plants, which is very important, and I'll show you some that I've done just today in a moment. There are so many aspects of the work that I'm thinking to myself, I haven't got that done. I didn't get my apple trees pruned. Here they are, unpruned. They'll just have to wait now until the autumn and next winter. The old polytunnel, which is going to be 19 years old this year, is now used for storing all the wood that I harvest from the woodland. And you can see there's still little flowers coming up there. These are the beautiful candelabra, what are they called now? Cowslips, candelabra cowslips. And I've divided those and put them into pots. My compost bins are filling up very quickly. The rhubarb is up, which is amazing because it's just a beautiful early dessert to be able to make a rhubarb crumble, straight from the garden. The Photinia has sprung back into life. Do you remember last autumn I pruned that really hard? Now, on the other side is the vegetable garden here, just to the left of the path, is what I call the Lunasa garden, and I'm still planning on getting in there and getting some pruning done. So it's just rush, trying to get everything done. But it's worth it because summer is on its way and that's the time to really enjoy everything and to take time and to wake on those beautiful midsummer mornings and drift out into the garden, the green, the canopy, the coolness. And it does provide such sanity in today's world. The hedges I trimmed a few weeks ago, so they're taken care of. This is the very outer edge of the woodland. I'm still pulling up leaves from this little drain here at the back, which goes quite deep and runs all the way across the land and then down and into the pond. So that takes all the heavy rain. And again, I'm pruning and trimming and I'm making stacks of habitat. This is the ribes that are out. A great pull for the early bees, the bees that come out of hibernation early. More wood drying as well. The pagoda, which was a shed this time last year, is a really good asset to the garden, a lovely place to entertain and to sit and have lunch. And so I think I've got 4, possibly 5 different types of rhododendron now, which come out at different times of the year and different colours. And as you can see, I've been moving things around, tidying up. In fact, I've spent most of the winter tidying and making sure that everything is, that all the work is kept on top of, because being on my own, things can get out of hand pretty quickly. Yes. And Patsy gets tired working, as you can see. She needs to rest. So there's no point in me shouting for Patsy, because she's normally snoozing. Yes. Here's some of the wood that I cut up. I have a little jigsaw in the barn, so I jigsaw up, various amounts of wood to both to start the fire in the stove and to keep it going. And of course, all my hot water and everything comes from this little stove. I was hoping to buy a new stove, but that's now cancelled. Can't do it. So, anyway, this old stove has served me well, and I look after it as best I can. It would be great to find someone who could come in and give it a good overhaul, spend a day or two working on it, but I can't seem to find anyone with those skills. Anyway, it does make lovely tea. The kettle boils very quickly on this stove. The rhododendron, by the way, comes into colourful bud in January and stays then in flower right through to March. And that's the natural heather planted around it underneath. Both the heather and the rhododendron love the acid soil. This is a Magnolia stellata that's coming into bud. I should see flowers on that now in the month of March. And each year the daffodils and the narcissi increase across the woodland garden, because whatever I grow in pots, whatever I plant up in pots in, say, September, October, and they flower, then I take them out and I bed them into the earth somewhere around the 3 acres. I can't remember the name of this little flowering shrub, but I know it's got too big for the pot and I will have to plant that out. I'm very fond of growing plants in pots, enjoying them up around the cottage and then planting them out when they get too big, like this beautiful witch hazel, which is planted up against the studio. And of course topiary, I've really got into, or some people call it topiary, I like to call it topiary. I think it just trips out better. So I'm really getting into that. Here's some narcissi that were evicted from their pot last year. And this is just opposite the door of the cottage. Have a little bench there. I can sit and look down over the woodland. And you've got these beautiful lichens growing very readily over some of the trees. It's a sign of good, fresh, clean air. And the hypericum, I've discovered, loves the woodland. So it's obviously a woodland plant. Now, I haven't even read up about it, but I'm just deducting from what I see. It's the dead hedge there. This is a little copper plate that I sat in between branches on this little sycamore, and one of the branches died, but the plate had already embedded itself into the tree, or the tree had taken the little plate into it. So it's a lovely little place to pass when the birds are in the tray having a bath. One of the apple trees. There must be about 20 apple trees in the garden altogether, and I think I counted up at one point about 38 fruit trees, but they're scattered all over the woodland in various spots. Mahonia. That's another plant which seems to like a woodland setting. That's the entrance to the fairy wood. Edible flowers in one of my hanging baskets. So you may notice all those little wild primroses that have happily self-seeded into the gravel. Now this, of course, is my latest addition, and I think I've made a very good investment here because it is perfectly movable. I can move it just about anywhere. And the actual fire pit burns the wood really well, and the kettle boils. It also means that I can put some of the more pernicious weeds like bindweed while I'm working in the garden. I can just throw the bits onto the fire. Because bindweed, of course, is no other way of getting rid of it. It's a bit like Japanese knotweed. You have to get every last little bit and make sure that it's gone. Gone. The larch trees will soon be coming into needle. A lot of people think that they're dead pine trees, but they're not. They lose their needles during the winter. And of course I do dry clothes as well in the polytunnel now because there's no door on the back of the tunnel, and the door on this side just stays permanently open because the wood's become quite rotten. It stood very, very well for almost 20 years, so I can't complain. And with the same plastic on it. So these, as I said earlier, are the candelabra cowslips. So I've left a few little clumps in the ground and I've taken out 3 potfuls. Time to spread the candelabras. And just a quick reminder to please like this video and subscribe if you haven't already done so to receive all the updates and the new videos. And I think we're just about ready to go down the driveway and have a look at what's been happening in the lower woodland. So on Sunday, my son came up, he had a pole, let me just get this right, a pole chainsaw, fantastic tool, absolutely brilliant. And we spent much of Sunday, which was a lovely day, cutting back a lot of the willow which was sort of leaning over at 90-degree angles. Now, they were the pioneer willows that were put in the very early days when I was starting to try to get the land into some kind of shape for planting a woodland. So a lot of that willow now has been cleared. There's a few bits still left standing, as you can see, but they're only they're very bitty trees. And the thing about willow is that if you can dry it out properly, which is easily enough done, it burns really well, really well. And in fact, they're now selling these little willow chips formed into little logs here in Ireland. I think they're about €7 or €8 for a small pack, which is enough to maybe do maybe one day in the stove. And you'd be lucky if it's one day in the stove, actually. So, you know, the willow logs, when they're dried out, are just as good, if not better, and they're free. So the woodland is now beginning to look quite healthy. There's still masses and masses of work to be done down here, but I'll try to get as much done before the nesting season starts, because again, although not a lot of birds actually use trees to nest in, they do seem to prefer shrubs and kind of woody areas like this, you know, where you've got a compaction of shrubs and trees, and it's more secure and warm habitat, I think, for birds, you know. They're not perched on top of a little nest, swinging about at the top of a tree in the storm. So lots more dead hedges down here. Again, I either stack the wood up against trees where there's shelter, or I lay the wood into dead hedges, which is just 4 poles knocked into the ground and the wood laid horizontally between the poles. So I did clear a lot of brambles as well from this area. Now you can see the quince. The quince has now been revealed in all its beautiful glory. And you see the sun shining on the tops of the trees. Aren't they lovely? Still got some dogwoods to prune. I don't know if I'll be able to get that done before the season kicks off properly, but I'll have a go. I have been working very hard down in the woodland. And of course, this is the lower woodland where you have the pond and the stream. I think this is me doing a 360 pan of the area. Quite early in the morning, as you can see from the sun. I think it's about 8 o'clock. So you can see quite a lot of the wood that's been sawn up and stacked. All this is willow, by the way. Yeah, there's a little bit of, just trying to think, there might be a little bit of birch there, just a tiny bit, but the majority of it is willow. So that's been stacked here beside the driveway, and it'll be fine that there for a few months anyway. I will take it up to the cottage in stages. So I just want to show you down here now near near the road. I still have a little bit of work to do down here, but overall I'm quite happy with how things are turning out. Oh, there's a car coming and it looks to be very fast as well. Oh no, not too bad. That's why I keep her on a very short lead. Okay, so far so good. What do you think? Some more plants to put in, and you can see along here there's a Photinia to put in, and I've got 3 laurels. 2 of them have blown over. You can see the hedging that I've cut back. I've left some of the longer bits just as standalone trees. I've got a couple of bits to cut up there. That should, well, it has to be done. Let me see, tomorrow, the next day. Yeah, because Friday's the 1st, isn't it? So, yeah, like I say, I'm quite happy with that. A few flowering shrubs, Mahonia, rhododendron, carrier, that little yellow one's carrier. My latest book, The Celtic Festival of Imbolc, is available now for posting. I've got them here at the cottage back from the printers. The links to all of my books, including this one, can be found below each and every video. All the books are packed here at Bealtaine Cottage and posted from Bealtaine Cottage at my local post office in the village of Ballyfarnan. So, enjoy the rest of the week. Certainly spring has kicked in here in the west of Ireland. And remember, in a time of destruction, or should I say fearfulness, create something, plant something, get something going. Blessings to you all.